Good morning, first grade readers. We have been having so much fun on our reading adventures, learning all new strategies. We learned that when you start a new fiction story, you get ready by taking a sneak peek and find out who are the characters and where are the characters going. We also learned to keep track of where and when the story takes place, the setting. We learned how to make predictions, and this week we learned a super important reading skill, retelling. When you finish a book, it's important to retell to make sure that you understood what happened in the story. If you can't retell it, go back and reread. So retell the important parts across your fingers. Who are the characters? Where does the story take place, the setting? What happened in the beginning? What happened in the middle? What happened at the end? You're only retelling the big, most important parts, the big events. Not everything, because that takes too long. So keep doing that whenever you finish a book, boys and girls. Today, I want to teach you a new reading strategy. Readers reread to notice more. Your teachers always tell you to go back and reread your books in your book baggies every day. When you reread, you notice new details that you didn't notice the first time. Rereading is also super important to build your fluency, to read more smoothly. Okay, so we're always telling you to work on your fluency, and rereading the same books over and over again really helps that. So today, let's reread a book that we read together, Corduroy. I'm going to reread, and if you notice something that you didn't notice the first time, pause the video and turn and tell a family member or a stuffed animal what you're noticing, okay? And I'm going to tell you what I'm noticing too. Corduroy. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him. You can also notice new details in the pictures. So, something I'm really noticing the second time I'm reading this book in this picture, I'm looking at Corduroy, and his face, he seems like he's really hopeful that somebody's going to take him home today. That's what he looks like to me, and I didn't notice that the first time, so he looks hopeful. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want to buy a small bear in green overalls. Then, one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." So I'm noticing that this is where the problem in the story is starting. Lisa really wants to buy Corduroy, but her mom says no because he's missing a strap and she's already bought too much. So this is where the problem starts. I didn't notice that the first time. Did you? Let's keep reading. Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight I'll go and see if I can find it." Do you notice something that you didn't notice the first time we read it? Turn and tell a family member or a stuffed animal if you notice something. Look at the pictures. Think about the words. Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. I'm noticing something new in the pictures. The first time I read this, I didn't notice that the other stuffed animals, the other toys, are sleeping when Corduroy is sneaking off the shelf. Look, they're sleeping. That's a cool detail. I didn't notice that the first time. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator and up he went. Could this be a mountain, he wondered? I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. It's definitely not a mountain. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there before his eyes was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. This must be a palace, Corduroy gasped. I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace. Look at his face. I didn't notice him here. He looks so excited and so happy to see all of this. Look at him. He's like, oh, wow. This is something he's never seen before. Looks like a palace to him. He wandered around admiring the furniture. This must be a bed, he said. I've always wanted to sleep in a bed. And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. All at once, he saw something small and round. Why, here's my button, he cried. And he tried to pick it up. But like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. So the problem is still going on. He didn't find his button yet, and nobody bought Corduroy, so the problem was not solved yet. He yanked and pulled with both paws until, pop! Off came the button, and off the mattress, Corduroy toppled, bang, into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. That night, the night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. Now, who in the world did that? He exclaimed. Somebody must be hiding around here. Dashing. I didn't think about that word the first time I read, but I think it means to go fast, to run fast. So he was dashing down the escalator. He was rushing down the escalator to see what was going on, what that noise was. Now, who in the world did that? He exclaimed. Somebody must be hiding around here. So when you reread, you might learn new vocabulary words. You find new details in the pictures that you didn't see the first time. He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw 2 fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. Hello, he said. How did you get upstairs? What do you think Corduroy is thinking there? The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. In the picture, I didn't notice the first time that they were still sleeping, and now look who else is sleeping. Corduroy. It is nighttime. The setting is taking place at night, so this is the time to sleep. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. I'm Lisa, she said, and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I can bring you home. The solution. This is where the problem gets solved. This page. When Lisa is able to buy Corduroy. Shall I put him in a box for you? The saleslady asked. Oh, no, thank you, Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Is there anything you didn't notice the first time we read? Pause the video, turn and tell a family member or a stuffed animal if you're noticing something different or something new. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know. I've always wanted a home." Lisa sat down with Corduroy and on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." Look at Corduroy's face here. He looks so happy. He also looks really content and feels like he's at home. "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. The ends. Okay, so today your job as a reader is to reread one of the books you already read. Pick a book from your virtual book baggie, or a book you've read on Mayan, or books you've had at home. Reread it to help your fluency, to become a smoother reader. Also reread and see if you notice details that you didn't notice the first time. Okay? Remember, to build your reading stamina, read for at least 20 minutes. Try to read for longer if you can. Make it a goal. Okay, boys and girls, have fun and happy reading. Don't forget to reread.